to talk about the president's address in depth, Professor Robert Kelly from Busan National University is joining us tonight. Professor, thanks for making time for us today. What did you think of the address? Perhaps more specifically, the timing and the format of it. Why now, and why the tears at this point could be the questions that many of us are asking.
Yeah, I thought the speech was very good. I thought the president needed to get out in front of this issue. It's been boiling for a while. I think the first couple of weeks, I think everyone would agree that she really stumbled. On the timing, I think it was just as soon as possible. She had to say something as soon as possible to stem the damage. She had to look like she was in control, that she was responding to this, that the Korean bureaucracy was going to take this seriously, that she could guide the ship of state. You know, there's a lot of criticism that she just didn't know what to do in the first few weeks. And so the timing may just simply be desperation. But I think that she really came around. I mean, she said some really important stuff about corruption. She said important things about sort of cracking down on nepotism and things like that, the kind of things that led to Sewol. So I thought it was a good speech, although it was late.
So touching on the content of it, do you think that the reform measures that she announced will be enough to quiet down the criticisms against the government's poor safety management?
If she follows through on them, and that's a really big if, right? Because she did run on reform when she was a candidate. And then when she got in, she really didn't do very much. And her coalition is effectively a conservative traditionalist one. That is to say that her voters were mostly people over the age of 50, the big business, the table, the conglomerates. I mean, these are sort of the conservative constituencies in Korea. That doesn't mean that they're reactionary or something like that. It just means that they don't really want a lot of change. The status quo works for that coalition. It's really younger people that have put the pressure on her.
Exactly. And one of them was the decision to break up the Coast Guard. Do you think she made the right decision to do that, and also to take safety-related functions out of the Maritime and Fisheries Ministry, as well as the Safety and Government Administration Ministry?
Yeah, I was actually surprised to hear about the Coast Guard. I mean, I'm not a big expert in maritime safety myself, but every country needs a Coast Guard, particularly a place like Korea with such a very long coastline. So even if it's not called the Coast Guard, Korea will retain something that does what the Coast Guard normally does. I have the feeling that the model here is the American Department of Homeland Security that was created after 9/11. The Bush administration took all these different sort of safety elements from around the American bureaucracy and concentrated them into one organization, which includes the Coast Guard. And I have the feeling that that might be the model here, to sort of create like one mega super ministry for safety issues, like she said. But I doubt the Coast Guard, that the helicopters and the ships will actually disappear. They'll just be renamed.
And we have local elections on June 4th coming up. I want to get your take on the possible impact of the ferry tragedy on the outcome of the elections. Is the ruling party going to be taking a big hit?
I think so, yeah. I think it's hard to imagine this won't really move the needle toward the left. The big criticism of Park Geun-hye for a while is that she's been dissociated from government. She stands above things. She's not really that interested and stuff like that. And I think that a lot of people on the left are going to say, look, this proves that the president is not really involved. She's not really engaged. She made the speech at the last minute. Maybe the tears were fake. We're going to hear a lot of that in the next month.
I see. Now, when President Park comes back from her trip to the UAE, she is expected to name the new prime minister and also carry out a cabinet reshuffle. What do you think should be the focus in these decisions?
I think the big issue that she needs to tackle right now is bureaucratic competence, for lack of a better word. She needs to prove that she can actually run the Korean state, that she can actually manage and organize a big, complex bureaucracy. I bet there are at least 500,000 people who work for the Korean government. It's probably even bigger than that. There are a lot of civil servants here, and it's hard to organize these people. You know, presidents, in the popular image on television, in the movies, the presidents are always doing exciting things. You know, they're picking up the red phone and whatever. But in practice, the president is sort of the CEO of the government, and that's what they do like 75% of the time. So she needs to be a manager. She needs to prove that she's competent, that she can run Korea's bureaucracy correctly, and that the Korean bureaucracy is responsible to regular people. I thought that's why the speech today was so important, but that's where the big focus will be in the next couple of years. Can she actually manage the bureaucracy to run smoothly and push away the corruption so the government's responsive to people, and then she'll win back some of the voters she's lost.
All right, Professor Kelly, thank you so much for your insight and time tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Curry's comments came in response to
your gateway to the day's biggest stories in Korea and around the world. Breaking news, the hottest interviews, and a whole lot more. Join Arirang Sean Lim and Kang Chae-ri from the heart of Seoul.
News begins now.
Primetime news, weeknights, live at 10 on Arirang TV.